It is past 4 o'clock, so I will call to order the second monthly meeting of the Hendersonville City Council, January 25th, 2023. We have our agenda. I would like to suggest that we do all of our business first, except for the lighting ordinance, and put that as the last item, because there are things we need to be sure we get to before the end of the meeting. And we do have kind of a hard deadline tonight. So would anyone like to approve the agenda with that change?
Madam Mayor, I move that we make that change.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, we will approve the agenda with the text amendment lighting ordinance, the last item of business. Thank you. We do have two items on the consent agenda. Would anyone want either of those moved to the regular agenda so it can be discussed? Or if not, a motion to approve those items.
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor of approving the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and those items are taken care of. All right, presentations, Edwards Park update, and Mr. Pauly going to do that?
Yes, ma'am. He's on his way
He's
with
on-
his props.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
We're supposed to bring props down first.
I've set
Always.
the example.
After that, pass that around.
Yay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Don't break it.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm happy to be here tonight to talk to you about Edwards Park and not parking. So on to a new subject here. It's our January 25th, 2023 update. Just want to, we'll give you these probably quarterly project status updates. So we officially closed on the property purchase about a few weeks ago. Completed the building demolition of the Girl Scout huts and asbestos remediation, have installed fencing and access on the site for construction, and have been actively working on clearing and grubbing of the site. So what comes next in the next few weeks is you'll be seeing the rough grade, electrical, anything underground starting to work on, and we'll have the mini golf site surveyed, staked off, and construction beginning in late February. So the contractor, Harris Miniature Golf, has been down a few times to check out the site, and they're excited to get moving, and we're really excited to have them. So we're going to talk a little bit about mini golf tonight as well, just to give you an update on that. The total site substantial completion is sometime in fall of 2023. We're hoping we're under promising and over delivering on this one, so hopefully we'll open earlier than that. This is the site plan map that went out to bid and has been started construction. A couple things to point out is the new Laura E. Warren mini golf hut will be over Main Street near the access for the VFW. We have the mini golf is lightly shaded in here throughout the park. There is a bike corral station with a bike repair stand and pump, a playground structure, and additional amenities and art structures throughout the park, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The existing Boy Scout huts will remain, and those are located here at the bottom of this page. This is just a rendering of what the hut will look like, so it's a really nice building, and we'll talk a little bit more about certain design aspects of that as we go through. I just wanted to provide y'all an image of the playground purchase that we had. One of the things I'd highlight for this is the turf. This is a grass turf, so it's a little higher quality than the rubberized mulch that we've seen on other projects, or just mulch. This hopefully will be a lower maintenance, longer term solution for that park. And we do have an additional shade and some benches that will be included in that park space as well. This is just an outline of the mini golf. I think we've seen this before, but I just wanted to provide it so you have it in your packets.
Question.
Yes, sir.
In front of the, I think you called it the hut, is that parking or those picnic tables?
No, those are cornhole boards, actually.
Oh, cornhole boards.
And a bear statue. So these will be movable if we want to potentially rent out the space for an event or tents or something. You could do that. I assume on our grand opening, we'll have some tents out there, a grill, and for the ribbon cutting and everything like that. So it's a good open space. Those are all permeable pavers throughout that project site there. And one other aspect important for this site is the ADA access for 10 holes of the course, so 1 through 9, and then up here you loop back to 18 to finish off the course for the ADA course. Couple things I just want to highlight as we're starting this project. We did have a really good community meeting, and part of the goal was honoring what's been and bringing certain aspects to the new course. And we held a community meeting to talk through kind of themes, what do we want to see, what do we want to keep, what might we want to change. So if you look at certain things like let's go tubing on the Green River rather than rafting the Nat and Halo, some things we heard was like, let's make it more local to Hendersonville, maybe less regional. So I just wanted to highlight that, and you have a list of all the holes in your packet and pretty much kind of how the features are going to lay out on each course. So this is more informational. And an example of how this would work, as you can see in your packet, like hole number 8, for example, is right over here. It's next to the water feature. This is going to be a stack stoned waterfall here. That hole is let's go to Looking Glass Falls. So you'll be able to look through each hole in your packet and kind of see the direction that we're heading with the course. We really wanted this to be a strong community project. So just highlighting some of our early community members who are helping us here and kind of honoring the tradition of mini golf course. Apple Country Woodcrafters are actually in the room, Gary Mack and Don Speece, so glad to have y'all. We've had a few meetings with them, and they've made some models of 4 different elements that they're going to add to the course. So that model of let's go to the Biltmore House is actually going to be 4 feet by 8 feet. So it's going to be a pretty substantial structure out on the course. That apple will be about a 4-foot size apple. And we have a silhouette of Main Street that will be down one of the more meandering holes. So we'll have Main Street silhouette throughout. And then actually Don he's the only one who didn't bring a model, I want to point out. He was working on building a structure of the train depot.
Cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
the train is late.
Very cool.
But so we'll have where you hit through the train depot on one of the holes. So wanted to highlight the Apple Country Woodcrafters. Really appreciate all their efforts with us early on and making this project happen. We've got 4 separate artists that are helping restore different aspects of the existing course or painting new aspects that we'll talk a little bit about. The Blue Ridge Bicycle Club, one thing you'll notice on this slide, they've contributed to the bike racks, which we're actually having bike racks that look like the ones in the top right there. Different colored bike racks that are shaped like bikes. The whole being Let's Bike the Ocklawaha Greenway, and they're working on also kind of a mapping component of how to access the park from the Greenway. Henderson County Public Library, Genealogical Society, and the Corn Family and Community Foundation have all been great partners in helping us identify pictures. One thing we want to do is do similar to this printed wrap on this wall. We'll be honoring Laura Corn and Boyd Park within the community building, so that inside of the hut you'll be able to go up to pay for putt-putt or get an ice cream, and you'll be able to see kind of old pictures throughout the inside of that building. And then lastly, the Shipman family, prior operators of the old team canteen. Tom's been willing to partner with us and work on one of the holes, which I'll talk about in just a second. Let's remember Boyd Park, so I'll get into more detail in a minute on that one. So one of our themes really blending the old and the new. We've got the white squirrel will be coming over with his little red loop that seems to be extremely challenging, and launches balls into the street. Let's Go to Church, some of the favorites that were identified in the community meeting, but those will be touched up by one of our artists. And then we're introducing kind of new features from old themes. So Let's Go to Carl Sandburg's home is kind of an old faded picture. We've got a new fiberglass goat that's being painted to represent the farm and the home. So that will be located on one of the holes.
Wow.
And really honoring history and tradition. And the last theme that we're trying to follow up with here will be, one of the holes will be Let's Honor the 9th Avenue School. We have a fiberglass tiger that will be on the course. We have different bears throughout the course. One will be honoring Laura Corn herself, who is also known as Mama Bearcat. So we'll have kind of some signs to find some of these history pieces throughout. And our 175th anniversary bear will be finding its permanent home at Edwards Park. And lastly, what I did want to highlight with Boyd Park and what we're working on fundraising is right now is kind of a ode to the teen canteen and the jukebox. The jukebox seems to be kind of the common theme of everyone, revolved around music. And they've got these great instruments out there these days. They're called percussion play, and they're like giant chimes, giant drum sets, marimbas, and other xylophones, things I don't really know much about. But they have expensive, nice assets. And we're working with Tom and his team and some fundraising to try to really make hole number 4, Let's Remember Boyd Park, an ode to that teen canteen and an ode to the park itself.
Like, these are things people would play?
Yeah, so you could get up to the hole.
Do
There's
we know how
actually
loud
some-
they are across the street? Do we know how loud they get across the street?
we would probably channel it towards your office.
That's great. I'm
Classroom.
just saying there are
No,
some houses right
I
there.
do not know, but I'll look into that.
Okay.
And then also, we're looking at some stepping stones that, like, if you jump on them, they make musical tones
What?
between the hole.
That's awesome.
Yeah, some pretty cool
Maybe
playground
big.
stuff these days. So really trying to honor that history of that park. So lastly, something that was not part of the construction contract and something we weren't quite sure the direction we wanted to go with and needed to do some exploration was, if you remember in the early schematics, we had this arch feature down by one of the bears and the kind of the tip, I guess, of the park. So we've talked with an artist, and they've given us kind of a range of what they think they could do to create that art piece. Without any necessarily budget identified at this point, this is something I was seeking direction on tonight. If it's something council's interested in and wants to appropriate monies towards, we could start working on identifying a funding source. But wanted to put this in front of you, what we're calling the public art arches. The quote is anywhere between $39,000 for kind of the lowest scale public art piece to $62,000, which would be kind of a more intricate design. It would have benches incorporated, green wall concepts and things like that. So at this point, I'll pause here and then I'll wrap it up. But I am kind of seeking feedback tonight from City Council if this is something you all are interested in pursuing.
That design?
The design could change, but an arch design.
I'm just saying that those are monkey bars. So nothing wrong with it as long as we're okay with people climbing all over them and sitting on top.
That's a good point.
No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I love monkey
They-
bars. But that is definitely what will happen.
Yeah.
And they'll be sitting on those when it's closed. Like when nobody's there, people will be climbing all over those. Once again, I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen.
I mean, I love the idea of a public art feature.
But maybe refining it a bit to not
Brian, the
much
last time,
liability.
the
Yeah.
last time that I was asked to vote on public art, it was a fountain,
I know this is
and it did not go well.
issue. Yeah.
So,
Or is there another, because we've done such a good job including the community in this park altogether. I mean, it's a public art at a park across from the high school. Can we involve?
This is a local artist, actually.
Oh,
who's-
is it?
Yeah, who's proposed these.
I-
They propose a bunch of options. I grabbed a couple of their
Yeah.
options.
I mean, those look really cool, and I'm sure they would be super fun to walk through.
Are there any others that we can choose from?
Artists or, well, yeah, and so essentially, if council wants to move forward with an art piece, lessen liability risk, we could start exploring that.
Maybe vertical.
Yeah, we can take that input. I think the main thing I'm asking for is, are you comfortable spending $39,000 to $62,000?
On a public art piece, yes. On this particular public art piece, I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, I do not
We can
wanna vote on the
further
art.
develop that. I think
I'm happy with money, I just don't want to vote on the art. That's just, I have PTSD from that.
we will not make you look at art again until it's done.
We're gonna make you vote last, Jerry.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
what we saw in that meeting and what ended up on Main Street were not the same. So,
Well, I feel comfortable. John, do you feel good? Okay. All right. So with that, yes, sir.
can we ask questions?
Yes.
Can you go back to the schematic of the golf course? Yeah, okay, that's good, yeah. Okay, so, trees,
Yes.
is that what the red thing is?
No.
No.
There's a lot. The landscaping plan is
No, I'm talking
very
about
involved.
the existing trees.
Existing trees, there is one existing tree that's remaining on the site that is close to the parking lot of the VFW.
So none of the trees by the Boy Scout huts are staying?
The trees by the Boy Scout hut are staying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming outside that dotted line, that's where those trees are by the scout huts. Like when I say dotted line, it says, let's go to Carl Sandburg.
Yep.
On the other side of that.
Yeah, those
that's
trees
what-
are all there.
Those are the trees I'm talking about.
Everything that's gonna be cut has been cut
Yep.
already.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Other questions on that?
So whatever's been cut has been cut.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Glad we didn't cut the wrong ones.
Okay, that was my question.
Sounds good. So really just in the honor of the Let's Go Somewhere themes, let's build a community project, blend the old and the new, and honor history and tradition. And Laura Ecorn will be present and alive in this park. So,
Yes.
I love that quote.
any other questions?
It's perfect.
Yeah. Nice job.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Brian.
And now we're adjourned. Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you. So we will next go to Parks and Rec Master Plan Committee appointments. Do you have someone?
I do have someone, and
Okay.
she's present.
Okay.
Her name is Phyllis Bailey.
Okay,
Good afternoon, Ms. Bailey.
all right. You move to appoint Phyllis Bailey to the Parks and Rec Master Plan Committee?
I moved to.
Okay. Are there further nominations? If not, those in favor of Phyllis Bailey as a member of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay, our committee is complete.
May I make one comment to Ms.
Yes.
Bailey? Ms. Bailey, we'll probably be in contact with you within about 10 days, maybe?
Yeah.
Because we have a meeting next week, and then we'll be in contact with you about meeting schedules and stuff like that.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next, consideration of a resolution requesting a local option 1/4 cent city sales and use tax.
I'll defer this to Councilmember Hensley, please.
We actually voted on doing this last year, but it was not picked up by any member of the General Assembly. Newly elected Senator Moffitt has shown some interest in picking this up. And I truly believe that this is a very good way of helping to kind of disperse some of the tax burden on the residents and empower our great visitors to help us afford the great services that the city provides. And so I hope we can send this off and hopefully it'll get picked up and then we can help work on educating the public on what this means.
I think that's an important thing, is educating the public, because I've had people saying how, does that mean every item I buy is going to have 25 cents added to it for taxes?
Right.
No. So once I explained what we were talking about, she said, oh, well, that sounds reasonable. So people have lots of misperceptions of what we're requesting.
I saw some really great, like, graphics on, there were actually several cities and counties last year in the cycle that requested to do this, and several of this local government's websites had really great graphics on, what this means, like what, the penny on your ad valorem tax rate means to your financial budget at home versus what it means on your gallon of milk at the grocery store, and what this could potentially mean for your overall tax rate. And so, if we can help get that information out, it kind of helps educate people on what it really means.
Brian, I think I have my math right. It would be a quarter if you spent $100. Isn't that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Right,
It's
so
a
if you
quarter of
spent-
a penny on a dollar.
Yeah, right. So if you spend $100, it would be a quarter more in tax, is what it would be. Right, so to get to a quarter, you'd have to spend $100. Right.
And $10 would mean 2.5 cents.
Yes.
Other comments or a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council adopt a resolution requesting the introduction of a local bill to authorize the establishment of an additional 1/4 cent sales and use for all qualified purchases in the city of Hendersonville.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the resolution for a local bill, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and we can move that on. Okay, Water and Sewer Joint Commission appointees.
Mayor,
Do that.
yeah, just to introduce it, Mayor Vogt, members of City Council, as you know, the City Council adopted a resolution to have conversations with Henderson County regarding the potential establishment of a Water and Sewer Joint Commission, and there's a need to form a committee for members of the City Council, members of the Commission, to discuss those ideas and other things associated with the governance of the water and sewer utility. Henderson County has appointed 3 individuals, and we're asking the City Council to appoint 3 members to serve as city representatives to discuss this matter.
The first meeting has already been scheduled for Tuesday, the 31st at 10 a.m. I think the intent was that the chairman of the county commissioners and the mayor would be members, and then there would be 2 additional members. But if you'd rather someone else, I mean, it's up to you.
Do you want to be on it?
I
mean, if you don't want to, we'll take the
I
hint.
think I need to be.
Okay.
If the county commissioner's chairman is on it, I think I need to be on it.
Well, I would like to motion that we appoint Mayor Volk to the Joint Commission.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead and vote on that. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of Mayor Volk being one of the appointees, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Okay.
Well, I will lobby for myself. I've been part of the discussions and would
integral
really
part of this.
like to continue the discussions and see if this is, at least venture down the road to see if this is a possibility. And if it's not, then we know that we made a really good effort. And I don't think you know unless you try, and I would like to be part of that trying. So I would appreciate that opportunity.
Okay.
I'll also add, I'm on the Water and Sewer Advisory Council. I'd like to be on it as well. And I can be there at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, or any other day that they meet.
I mean, I also have an interest of being on it as well. I have a pretty open mind when it comes to this discussion, while I might be cautiously optimistic. But I would like to see where it goes.
All right. 3 people interested for 2 slots. We'll take them in.
Can we take turns?
Can we, huh? I don't know. Would that be a possibility?
I don't know why not. I mean, if the city council, that's wanted to appoint 4 members to serve, you could take turns. I mean, at this point, we don't have any rules. So, the idea is that we would, is that 3 members would meet with 3 members. We would just make sure we we took good notes, and so we'd have continuity at the various meetings and those kind of things. And I think the idea is we would at least stream the meeting, so if people couldn't attend in the room, that they could watch live, or record it. So,
Since it is 3 members of each, this would be a public meeting.
yes.
Well, this would be a public meeting.
Yes.
Because I think that I may need to be a part as well.
I feel like we could go ahead and nominate Jennifer for an appointment. I would like to do that.
Okay?
Before we do that, are we going to take turns, or are we going to suggest just 3 people?
I think we should take turns. I think it's a great idea. I'm actually super excited that there's interest in doing this, and even interested in being, at the table for these discussions. And I know you've been very, objective about the topic, but, you bring a pretty expansive knowledge to the table of, legal terms and things that are way above my head, and you've been on the Water and Sewer Committee, and so that means something. And I'm grateful that you guys are actually wanting to be a part of it. So I think we should include as many people as we can, or who is interested, and figure out a way to do it. And honestly, I think this is not a bad thing.
Oh, I thought you were looking at me.
She's shaking her.
I was asking him to make a suggestion.
Okay?
You might consider just making all members of it, and who can attend, and who can't on a particular meeting date, so that anybody could attend from city or county.
If I'm not mistaken, whether we're up front or not, it's a public meeting, so we can go, right?
It does create a little bit of complication if you have 3 members there. Is that a meeting also of city council? Or, I'm just saying, if you propose back to them that all 5 of you guys and all 5 of them be members, and who wants to attend can attend on a given day, if you want to come to all of them, or just a few of them, and that way everybody's included.
Well, even aside from this, I was going to suggest tonight that we need, in my opinion, to pass resolution, whatever, that we agree that no city business will take place at these meetings. Can we agree to that? So that if 3 members, I'm not saying anybody would do this, but 3 members can't show up and all of a sudden do something because it's not one of the meeting of all 5 of us.
Right, and you don't want a vote to be a vote.
Right. But technically, if 3 members are there, that could happen, correct?
Technically, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's pretty confusing. So, yes, I was sitting here thinking, how are we going to work around that?
So would we be within our powers legally to say that we agree that no city business will be voted on by the city council at this water and sewer joint commission meetings?
Well, you just have to make it clear that in the appointment, you're sitting as a member of that commission, not as a member of city council.
So that would be written in as I don't know, if it's a new commission or a new committee, that would be part of that committee's bylaws,
I
right?
think would probably be what you have to do, that you're sitting as a citizen, not
Yeah.
as a city council person.
Yeah, that
At
seems
least
very
on
reasonable.
paper.
I guess the
At
only
least on
thing
paper,
is,
right.
since this is a joint committee with the county, if we say, well, sorry, we want all 5 people there, and they have already only appointed 3. I think before we say, no, we want all 5 there, we need to discuss it with them.
Yeah, I don't think we need all 5 there every time, but I think alternating to allow the structure of what we originally agreed on would be good.
Yeah. Plus, it's a public meeting.
Yeah.
Right, so, I
Anybody who
mean,
wants can show up.
correct.
You can observe and listen and watch.
But participation might be limited, you know, if you're just,
Yeah, that's the tough part. If we've got members of the council in the audience trying, we'd have to, how do you?
Banners,
Yeah,
posters, just kidding.
Well,
We wouldn't do that.
I totally appreciate your comment. I guess we have a meeting coming up Tuesday. And I guess, did they mention all 5 of them coming?
at this point, no, they did not. It originally started as just 2 members, so they wouldn't be, and then it grew to 3, so at this point, it's not been a total joint meeting of all board members at this point.
But if we say we're bringing 5, we've not broken any rules. And they can all come if they want to come.
I think there should be 2 people who are, quote, sitting at the table. And if the other 2 want to be in the audience, but I think it would be.
Okay, so are we going
need
to have a rotation of who's sitting at the table then?
I think that would be reasonable. And if they at their next meeting say, nope, I think we need to do this as 5, then we can do that. But
I mean,
starting out with,
Can the meeting on Tuesday make that decision? I would assume
the
yes.
county commissioners would have to,
Okay,
they're the ones who made their appointments.
so then we need to appoint all of us and then create our order of who's going to go when. Obviously, Mayor Volk, you're going to all of them.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the rest of us,
Yeah.
not talking about you.
I would like to attend all of them.
I'm going to be at all of them, whether I'm at the table or not. I'll go ahead and tell you that.
How often is it meeting, do we know?
We haven't set a schedule at this
No,
point.
yet, no. This is an initial meeting.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is going to be presentation. From what
Catch
I,
us all up?
So the first meeting, really, all we're doing is we're going to talk about the history of the system. I've asked Lee to present the history of the system going all the way back to 1922 or before. And we'll do that, and then, but also talk about a couple of the large capital projects into the future, so you kind of lay the framework and the foundation of what we're talking about, and the what's gone into creating the system. And then also, on Tuesday, Marcus Jones from the county will present. Basically, we went to the city of Winston-Salem and looked at their model, and he's going to present their model just from an overview. And then from there, the committee will decide whatever direction they want to go from there. Is there other information they want to look at? Are there other things they, and then kind of establish criteria going forward.
well, I think since Jen has been part of this planning, I think she should be there as an official representative on Tuesday.
I agree with that.
Lindsay, do you have a strong desire to be there on Tuesday?
Pardon?
I mean, as far as the sitting at the table being there.
I mean, I would like to be a part of the discussion on Tuesday, sitting at the table, yeah.
Okay, I'll take the next, Debbie and I'll take the next meeting. As far as sitting at the table. Okay.
Okay?
Once again, as well, I guess, I don't know how this works, because it's never happened before, but it does seem, I mean, because there are going to be 3 council members, right, we have to make notice of this, correct?
And we have published notice, so we published a notice that there would be, and I would think we would set a regulator, but for Tuesday, we have established a notice that 3 members of the county commission even though that's not our role, and 3 members of the city council will be meeting in this room to discuss the potential establishment of a water and sewer commission. So that we have noticed it and sent that to the,
Yeah.
But you haven't noticed it as a meeting of city council.
no.
But I mean, like, if 3 of us get together at
Right.
A
And I
party,
think
we're
it may
supposed to
be-
make a
because
notice.
You're discussing city business, so it may not hurt. Maybe-
Well, we listed as 3 members of the city council and 3 members of the county commission would be meeting.
Yeah, but I know, but I feel like I'm saying what Jerry's saying, excuse me, Councilmember Smith is saying, that maybe notice it as a meeting of city council as well, and then everybody could come, and the 2 sitting in the audience. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to have 3 and 3. It's just very unusual.
So my question is, I feel like, I would like to make a motion. I don't know how binding this is, that we agree that no city business will take place at this meeting.
What do you mean by city business?
That we can't 3 vote to do anything. Like, we can't take a vote to buy John a new car. I mean, I know that's weird, but I mean, just, we can't take a vote to do anything at these
So-
meetings.
Maybe that you would make the motion that the delegation clarify at the meeting that you're there as citizens, not city council people.
I agree, but, you know,
I don't know how you get around it. I really don't, because you're right. Anytime 3 of you are together and discussing business, that's a meeting. So-
But the expectation is they are negotiating or talking as city council people.
no, I'm just talking about we're not
Individual.
voting on it.
Well, but they're there individually, not as, or are they? I mean, not as city council.
So this
If
is
it-
an
if they're there as
advisory
city council, they really.
committee
All
anyway.
5.
Oh, I agree, but the problem is, the law says when 3 of us are together,
Right,
that's a meeting.
but I don't think as an advisory, we could actually vote to take action.
But if 3 of us got together at lunch, and
Yeah.
it was noticed, we could do whatever, that's what the law says.
But are we getting together as an advisory committee, or are we getting together as like just some folks?
I agree with you 100%, but
Yeah.
if 3 of us were getting together to go eat pizza at Pi Squared, technically, we're supposed to notice that we're 3 together.
And
Unless it's,
but it has been noticed.
That
we-
part of it.
no, no,
has-
but,
It's
the- and,
happened.
no, not the notice, because at Pi Squared, we could do city business.
But that would be subject to being set aside for not being subject to or noticed in accordance with the open meetings law. If you don't comply, then, like, if you held an illegal meeting and you took a vote.
No, I got you. No, but I'm saying, if we did notice that we're going to have pizza, and the public knew, and we sat down and decided to do whatever, we could do that.
You could.
Right, that's my point. So we put notice that we're all 3 going to be there. I think that we need to pass a resolution that we agree that we're not going to do, I don't know if the word is binding city business, in the sense
Maybe you
of,
just don't vote. You don't ever, everybody just acts by consensus and don't vote, and then it's probably not going to be an issue.
Couldn't we establish that as a rule for the committee as overall when we get there? I mean,
nothing is binding at the meeting until it's gone back to the individual county commissioners and the council.
Well, I mean, for that matter, right. Any action taken has to be approved separately by both boards. In other words, all they're there to do is make a recommendation. Right?
Sure.
I don't know, John.
Is that- but-
Are they supposed to be negotiating terms?
I mean, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know, at this point, we haven't gotten that far, whether we're going to move the ball, move forward, or is to have general conversation and get the issues on the table or the opportunities on the table. And then I felt like there would be some conversation back and forth regarding the issues, but I thought a lot of that would be done among the staffs and the attorneys that would have been ultimately brought to the boards, the full boards, for any action, is the way I anticipated that it would happen. But
And I would assume there would be negotiating of
Both groups.
topics of both groups, but then there would be no vote because the negotiated points would come back to the individual boards, and then the individual boards would say, okay, yeah, we can get behind this, or no, we can't. So, I mean, whatever that has to be in the meeting or in the committee's rules of order is what I would expect.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. Law school teaches you to be paranoid.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's exactly my thought there. It's just the paranoia that all of a sudden people are like, man, that's a great idea. We vote to do it,
Right, I
you
understand.
know?
Right, so if you're negotiating points and you by consensus say, okay, we can, take that back and consider it as a full board, nothing wrong with that. You're not taking action.
I got you. We have a handshake agreement. I understand that. Just a paper, on a piece of paper, I personally feel better about that. But I don't know, I mean, that's the advantage of either having twos or all five. Twos, you definitely can't do anything, and if all five are there, well, all five are there, you know? So you could do something if all five are there that would meet the point which is everybody has a chance to voice, you know, and say before votes are taken. Well,
None of that's going to happen at the first meeting, right? So you could reconsider it later.
well, then I would like to, is there a consensus that we would like to change the makeup, that all five of us can be there on the board? And of course, offer the same to county commissioners?
That seems to get cumbersome for initial discussions.
Can we start with 3 and then
Oh, no,
actually
no,
just have the
no,
discussion with
no. I meant on Tuesday, the three sitting there will say, we would like for all five people to be on the board. When you're discussing the makeup of the commission.
I just think that makes it more awkward, having everybody chiming in instead of trying to limit it a little bit.
I guess the only thing I'll say, Mayor, is we're talking about the most valuable asset that we own. And a historic discussion. If there ever were a time for all five people to be there, this is it. And not have to get it secondhand from another council member or sit out in the audience and, you know, I can listen but not say anything. I just think if there ever was any, I mean, if we all met to do the Garrison property, if we all met, all five of us got together to do that, certainly all five of us can get together to talk about this.
Do we think that the reason that it was formed initially as the 3 and 3 was because they didn't feel like there would be enough interest or support for there to be a 5? Like, just, you know, is that something that they just thought, well, we'll get 3 people because we're not sure if we can get 5 people, or, you know what I mean? Like, was that how it went down, or is it something like where they think that they would actually have more interest, or was it just too many big heads in a room together? Like, you know, what was the logic behind the 2s or the 3s?
My understanding is, and obviously I wasn't part of all the
I'm including myself in the big head comment, so, like.
all the
not to
conversations.
make-
So
but-
it had started as two and two, and I think at some point, very much like this discussion, a third member of the county commission felt like they should be part of the conversation, and the county commission made the decision that they would add the third person, because the conversation that we had originally was, it was going to be 2 and 2, so we would avoid the quorum issue. Even though it'd be a public body and we would have to notice it because it would be a subcommittee of both boards, but we would keep it to 2 and 2. That way it would not get into having a quorum and you would not have to worry about this voting issue. But as the conversation occurred in the commission chambers, the decision was made to add that third member.
So it's already 3 and 3 at this point. So really, there's no big difference between 3 and 5 when you're looking at the structure of the board. And if it's not a voting board, and it's a board of people gathering together and learning and listening and having dialogue and discussions, then it doesn't really matter.
That's right.
Another option is we only send 2, then no city business can take place. So at least from our end, that takes that off. It's the 3, the problem is 3. It's just, you create a lot of legalities when you send a quorum to a meeting. Or I should say potential legal consequences.
Well, the legal aspect might be there, but I can't see that we would be doing anything.
So Mayor, you don't want to increase it to 5, is that correct?
I think the meetings would just be much longer and much more contentious. There wouldn't be time to try to do a little bit of negotiation. Of course, with 3, there probably wouldn't be either.
Well, I mean, Jen, how do you feel about 5 people?
I honestly, I'm happy people are willing to show up and talk about it, so.
Just happy either way.
The more
Lindsay,
the
how do you feel about 5
the more the
people?
merrier for me. Listen, just so you know, like 3 years ago, I requested that we have a joint water and sewer discussion with the county, like where we all came and had some of these discussions. So and then I understand the concept of like, well, I have to go back and tell them what we talked about, and then, so that's not going to be an issue if we're all there. So I'm not opposed.
I mean, I'm not opposed to 5 either. I think I have similar concerns to the mayor that the conversation could devolve, but I feel like the conversation could devolve with 3 of us there. And the best way for all of us to have all of the information would be for all of us to be a part of the discussion. But it does make it quite a meeting when there's 10 total people.
Well, if we, the general feeling is to do that, we can let the county know that all 5 members will be there.
Or at least are able to be there, yeah. Debbie, how did you feel about the 5? We didn't hear from you.
I agree. And we all have to be knowledgeable about what's going on.
And honestly, I think the only reason they didn't say the same thing is because they were just said, okay, well, we're gonna go to 3, and then that's what they voted on.
Yeah.
So I don't honestly see that they would be upset about this. I think, that the other 2 members of their board probably have equal concerns and equal, thoughts on the matter, and so I think it's fine. 3 or 5, whatever.
It's a party.
Might better bring some cookies.
I'll still have these ones.
That's my choice.
It's gonna be a lot to buy at Chick-fil-A.
And we're trying to keep the meeting, at least, Tuesday will be an hour, and, I think the idea is, that we don't go excessive long meetings, in order that it does,
I mean, we could set a time limit obviously we'll talk about all this on Tuesday, but I feel like we could set a time limit on the meetings like we do at this meeting and go, this meeting is over at this time.
John Mitchell doesn't go over an hour.
Yeah.
He's a hard,
Where
fast.
is the
Whatever we
meeting?
didn't finish,
Hour
we'll
long
talk about it the next meeting. It's not like there's a timeline.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, those kind of things are going to be discussed here. And the first meeting's in this room. So,
So what do we have to do now?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that all 5 of us are appointed to the Water and Sewer Joint Commission. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor of all members of the council being on this joint commission, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. And you will let Mr. Mitchell know, and he can let their board know. Okay.
now I'm getting other Texas, it's all right.
Oh, that's right, it is live.
John's gonna
Everybody's
disown
watching.
us.
Okay.
I think it's a positive thing.
I think it's positive too. It's all a step in the right
Tell
direction.
them we're bringing Chick-fil-A.
We will bring cookies.
All right. Now, let's go back to 5A, lighting ordinance. I think we've taken care of all the other business.
Because I bought.
All right.
Madam, I have a question, Madam Mayor, as we begin this, and that is, we're not actually voting tonight on the amendment. We're discussing what we want. We're voting on at the next council meeting.
That's correct.
Yeah, so this here's what we're talking about, but the actual vote will occur at the next council meeting, which is not next week.
Yeah,
No.
2 weeks.
I almost made that mistake.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just talk about it tonight because staff may go back and make some adjustments.
Yep.
Depending on our discussion. Okay. Anyone want to start? I think that. Sure. The email comments, Jerry, that you sent out, those seem to be the areas of contention. You want to
Sure.
go down those and see if anyone else agrees, disagrees, that there's anything else that we need to talk about?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to tell everybody, I had all intentions to be sent this morning before I went to work. It just didn't happen. I apologize. Life just got in the way. You mean to start with the part about like dark sky? Is that what you,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So,
I think trying to talk about the whole thing all at
Yeah,
once
yeah.
is a little much, but if we can look at the different issues that we're concerned about, I think that would help.
I would agree. So once again, not being an engineer, I've used the language that seems to have been used a lot. So this all began with the discussion of dark sky and what basically, being able to see stars at night. And so that, my understanding is no light escapes 90 degrees. And that seems to me where this all began. And so it's like that I say has to. That seems to be the reason that we're even talking about a lighting ordinance, is that requirement. And as I put in mind, this should be a definite one that goes in. My feeling is that at least the dark sky component, we can talk about the light trespass separately, but at least the dark sky component should be applicable to everyone, whether it's government or religious institutions, because this is the basis for discussing this, and this is light shining up into the sky. How's that for intro to
I
one?
agree. I think, for me, that's the main issue, is what's going up.
No
That was-
uplighting. No uplighting.
Yeah,
No
nothing
uplight.
that,
That was my
What's up?
ordinance suggestion last time.
I know, I have it first one on here,
No uplight.
yeah. But I just think
Seems
that,
logical and reasonable.
I know that, I can hear John deep sigh. I don't know what it means.
That's where I was going. I was like,
Okay, so I've tried multiple times to ask what it means for us, and I still don't totally know what it means. But it seems to me that at least with regard to dark sky, we should be participating along with everybody else, which means it costs money.
so I guess the only thing I would caution or advise is when you're saying that, and the things that, and Lou's got some pictures of maybe of what we would see around ornamental buildings, historical buildings, and if we're doing this, and, that will change the appearance of public buildings around the community. Also, it has the potential of changing your appearance of your main street, that we have become accustomed to, and I think people like. I think the public, because we know that we're not, I don't think, at least existing lighting technology
with our decorative lights does not allow for zero uplighting of those. Now, we have some older lights that we and Lou talked about this, and Tom talked about it, the lights with the black poles, absolutely, the technology, because they're open globes all the way around, whereas the green structures that we have bought from GE have the cap on the top, but there's still a little bit of uplighting. So the only thing that we have, I mean, there may be technology out there, but just realize, in addition to the cost, you may change the appearance of your main street. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind. If you're going to say no uplighting, the repercussions to that are you may change the appearance of some historic buildings in town, City Hall, historic courthouse, things like that, as well as what your main street looks like with our decorative lighting. So just going to put that out there. So.
I mean, I think it's also important to point out, because I think this got convoluted in the last meeting, is that the city is not exempting ourselves from everything in this ordinance. It's the ornamental lighting. So it's not like the floodlights across the street got brought up. Those have to be changed out, just like everybody else's have to be changed out. It's the uplighting on like the dome of the courthouse. It's the street lights that we have on the street, the ornamental lighting. So it's not the whole thing that we're just saying, you guys do this and we're not doing anything.
And I'll be the first to say, like, so if we have pictures, this would be great. Like, what exactly, I can appreciate Main Street and 7th Avenue, because I drive by those all the time. The other ones that I'm not thinking about, I need someone to say, this is what we're talking about with regard to ornamental lighting.
These are examples examples of, you may not be in Hendersonville, but these are examples.
Where is it? Okay.
So these are examples of types of ornamental lighting that you may see on churches, you may see, right? Yeah. Churches, historic buildings, those kind of things. So those kind of.
So these are or are not compliant?
They are not compliant.
Okay.
That's right. They're not compliant. Those are uplighting.
But our biggest thing was not changing what we have. It was the new development that's going to rapidly continue. We were trying to not contribute any more to uplighting, to light pollution, and that kind of stuff. And I like the churches to be lit up. I like the courthouse to be lit up. I mean, I prefer a floodlight on the back of my office when I'm leaving my office and there is a vagrant stealing things out of the back of our office space. So, like, those are the things I like, but obviously the floodlights are a problem. But I don't really want to change what we have because I think it's beautiful. And I thought the whole purpose of this was the development and like getting to the point where we created a massive problem. And so is it possible to have the discussion of, we maintain what we have, but when we're seeking new development, that we have these standards. These are the standards that we've agreed on, that we do not want to contribute more, and then make recommendations at that point. Is that something anybody's interested in, or you guys want to just
Certainly, I agree with new development.
change?
100%.
Or do you guys want to literally change everything that we have and churches and all that stuff?
That's part of, that's two things. I think the decorative lighting versus the big floodlights, parking lot type lights. I see those as two different issues.
And I can totally appreciate, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I can totally appreciate
Yeah.
on the top of this, or not on top of the steeple, but right beneath the steeple, spotlight going up on the steeple. I mean, I get it, that's part of our culture. I understand 100%. Yeah, I don't know the correct legal way to word ornamental lighting. I think part of my saying that the city should be involved is that exactly what Lindsay said was the perception that we're gonna make y'all do it, but we're not gonna do it, And John, I appreciate your comment about the street lighting, because we like the street lighting, and I thought about like, okay, how does this affect when I want to put the wreaths on there at Christmas time, So I don't know how to carve that out in a way that doesn't look like we are exempting us from doing it, or the best way to explain to others that there are some parts that are sort of culturally, the way we like how our neighborhood or our town looks, that may violate this, but for cultural reasons, we like to keep it, you know, whether, and so I don't know the good way to word that.
Well, I think it would be that we focus on what is to come and not the things that we already have.
With regard to the, certainly all of it, obviously, for people that are coming in.
And that we, because your history of, like, your memo was great because, you know, it gave a good detailed, and it was literally developers were coming in and we were spending very, very, very long time discussions on, do we make them dark sky compliant? Like, do we do this? And, well, what is dark sky? Do we need to have these standards? And we can't keep doing this every meeting. And so, and it was because we had development happening and like new things coming to town and being built that we wanted to, let's hold up on. And so, to me, if we focus this ordinance on creating standards for things to come, and then, you know, as everybody's saying too, like, technology is changing, like, business owners are gonna eventually have to replace the lighting that they have, and they're not gonna be able to get the lighting that they have now, like, most of the time anymore. It's gonna be obsolete. And that, you know, they start moving forward as they have the opportunity to.
So I think there's a easy way to take this ordinance and turn it into something like that, and that would be to take out the amortization, which I would be in favor of doing. Because
So you
I
take
think
it
there's
out.
other triggers that people would be getting if they're doing all of, you know, 50% development, that triggers that, it triggers the new development that's coming in.
New re.
And so I think that's, and I also think for this, because I feel like we could go on this conversation forever. It's important to note for everyone to know that just because we pass something, when we inevitably do something, it's not written in stone. It can change. We passed a subdivision ordinance a couple years ago, and we've made a couple amendments to it, because as we get it enacted, the planning department starts seeing some things that come up that maybe we didn't anticipate, or something new came along. And this would be that same way. So right now, I feel like we need to get something on the books. And so I think what they've put together is great, and I felt like it described enough the exemptions for the ornamental lighting that made sense in the beginning of our last meeting, but then it got changed. So maybe there's some language we can change there. But if we take out the amortization from this, then I think that helps get something on the books. We're not asking people to necessarily change everything right away on a timeline. It solves the staffing problem that we may have when we're trying to go over compliance for it at the end of the 10 years. So I feel like there's a way for us to do that.
So you mean, obviously, new construction, no amortization, you must meet the standard, correct?
No, I'm saying no amortization.
No, I'm talking about for
Right.
new construction?
New construction.
Well, new construction would have to follow this anyways, because it's new construction.
Right, my point is, you're only talking about for people that existing lighting, there's no amortization,
Correct.
right?
I agree with you. And then I think moving forward, then anything new or any redevelopment is triggering this new,
Yep.
you know, these are the standards, because we don't want our city's aesthetic lighting to change. Like, we don't want it to become this like
Get any
great-
worse than
right.
it is right now.
We don't want it to create this neon light, you know, when somebody's flying in from Asheville or.
And I do think the ornamental exemption for institutional type buildings, I think is fair, because those buildings serve a larger purpose than a residential home or a commercial building.
So I just need some help. Lou, if I can ask you, on the ornamental part. So anything on the side of a building is ornamental? Or does it have to actually look artistic?
So ornamental or architectural lighting would typically fall into a category of lighting designed to reveal the architecture of the building. So that can occur on a modern building. The images that I shared were of historic buildings, but it's basically lighting that is intended maybe to emphasize a column or an architectural feature of the building.
Okay, so light on the back, outside the back door here, that doesn't qualify.
No, you know, if there were, like a doorway light or something like that, the expectation would be that those would be in compliance with the U0 standards.
And- Go ahead, John.
Not that we would want to wordsmith it tonight, but is there a way to add language that just clarifies the intent?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about
And
that.
the attorney's gonna look at me and scold me, but some way, the intent is to highlight the architectural feature, but cannot be used.
And maybe we could use some examples of what
like
we're
in
talking
pictures.
about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you could have that one-word ordinance that says no more uplighting.
But then that would mean even this, or,
That's
Yeah,
three
but,
words.
but then,
But that would be, like, any new development, any redevelopment, we do not allow uplighting. That's the ordinance.
You get a new church who wants to light their steeple.
That would be a new or redevelopment, and so I would think that it would fall in some way, and then they would have to figure out a way of highlighting their feature to the new standards. I mean, I would assume there's a way to highlight a steeple
Without
put
it
it
being
above it.
highlighting?
and cast it down. I don't know.
or a church decides, hey, we would like to highlight our steeple now. We've never done it before. Or at least new type of lighting.
I don't know. I like the highlighted steeples
Yeah, no, I can appreciate from the pictures you showed us, Lou,
and the
the arch-
crosses and
there are,
flags.
yeah, architectural aspects of buildings that, yeah, we'd like to show off the building at night. So I can appreciate that, while that may be adding to nighttime ambient light, that's just the give and take of living in an electrified world that has nice buildings. I think what I'm wondering, I mean, sorry, law school, is just, you know what? That's a pretty building. I'm gonna put a floodlight on it. And, you know, anybody can say, well, this is ornamental lighting because I think my building's pretty and I'm gonna put a floodlight and show everybody, you know? And so you get into what is historic, what is cultural. I know, Lou, I'm just saying that is the challenge of all the time when you're putting culture into sort of ordinances and things like that.
If it's a religious institution or a governmental institution, would that kind of just,
Or on the National Historic Registry, we talked about.
would that kind of close down and make the exemptions
Right.
for those as
Yeah.
opposed to allowing people
You
to
mean
just-
the, once again, the exemption for ornamental lighting?
Yes.
Because other parts, like, I think, I'm like, if your parking lot needs to be dark sky, ultimately needs to be dark sky compliant. So if you got a big giant bulb up in the sky, you're gonna have to change that, you know? But ornamental, I can appreciate, it's just, I can just see where that is really getting in the weeds of what is ornamental, but maybe not, maybe that's not, maybe, that's just my perception. So would that be worded that they're an so, to go back, exception for ornamental lighting only is what we're talking about. Now we're not talking about the new, we're talking about existing.
Say that again?
So in other words, the exception for the dark sky would be on existing buildings, ornamental, not existing government or religious institutions, their ornamental lighting would be exempt?
Is the language not already that?
No, we would keep that.
Okay.
Yeah.
so existing buildings are, unless they redevelop, aren't gonna have to comply anyway. So anybody that's got anything now, as long as they don't redevelop, or,
And as long as there's no amortization, I think that's what you mean.
well, yeah, I'm taking that as a given, right? So existing buildings aren't gonna have to comply, period, unless they reconstruct, or, you know what I mean?
So I have a question though, like the building that is gonna be the Veterans kind of center that the county
VFW?
commissioners are doing.
About the
that's-
the OVFW?
Yeah, that's that is a redevelopment, right? And I assume that they will want to have, and that's new development, redevelopment, And I assume that they will want to have some sort of lighting to highlight whether it's a statue or flag or symbol or something, medallion. So then how do you allow that, other than if we just continue exemptions for churches and government buildings and, I mean,
Yeah, as written, that would be exempt.
or are you
because it's
guys not
public.
wanting to allow them to do
Even
that at
though it's,
all?
even though it's new, it'd still be exempt?
As written.
As the ordinance
I
is
think
written now.
As
It's an
written,
overall
it would be
exemption.
exempt. I think we can work on clarifying what's ornamental and architectural. But yes, as written, they can put whatever architectural or ornamental lighting they want.
I'll admit, though, that does seem kind of go against your first one, which is,
Right.
if it's
No
new,
more new.
if it's new, it's
Well, I
gonna
just
be.
thought about it. So then I
No, it's good,
realized
it's
that
a
they-
very, it's a very good, because that could be the first test case, because that could be the very first one, whenever that project happens.
Have they already applied?
Oh, no.
If they've already applied,
Yeah, they may have
they don't
permit
have
choice
to
in
comply.
place for that project.
What'd you say?
Well,
I believe they have permit choice in place for that.
Yeah, they've
They've already,
already
applied,
submitted their
they're good. They
application
can choose
for
to
the
comply or not.
Oh,
it-
that's fun.
Because of permit, something called permit choice. Totally different subject, but
Unless there were amortization, which means eventually they'd have to comply.
if you took out the exemption and put in amortization, then yes, eventually they would have to comply.
So, because the exemption doesn't go away if we had an amortization
Right.
on it. It's always an
And
exemption.
it's anything new.
Oh, so we'd have to take out the whole exemption, because it's
The exemption right now is no matter, so.
new or old?
When you take out amortization, just establish a few baseline points. When you take out amortization, anything that's on the ground now or on a building now gets to stay. Period. New construction for non-governmental has to comply. As written, new construction for publicly owned facilities doesn't have to comply if it's ornamental or architectural.
but everything else we would have to comply.
But everything else would. So yes.
And churches?
Well, church spires, belfries, cupolas, domes, not intended for human occupancy. That's the only thing that's exempted for churches right now.
So it's not totally open either.
But as written, church spires, belfries, cupolas, and domes, it seems like that would be across the board, not just for churches, right? Like, you all said that you kind of like a dome or a steeple to be able to be,
If it were on a historic or public building, then my answer would be yes.
you intend church to modify all of those things in number
Well,
4.
So uplighting would be exempt on National Register listed properties and public buildings. Those are-
Right, I'm talking about number 4. Church spires,
I'm not
belfries.
really not gonna follow that question.
Is it just, does the word church modify spires, belfries, cupolas, and domes? Okay, so it's limited just to churches. Okay,
How about flags on flagpoles?
That's in there too, right?
That's included? Couldn't remember.
well,
Angie's got the ordinance in front of her.
it's exempted, flagpoles are exempted from
Oh, here we go.
A, B, and C, from everything.
Okay.
So flagpoles can have any kind of lighting, pretty much.
So all those
about
things seem
stadiums?
reasonable to me.
I'm sorry?
What about
All of these
stadiums?
things seem reasonable.
Like stadiums?
That's in there too.
It's
Yeah, that's already exempt.
exempted.
Okay.
I feel like the list of exemptions they have put together all make sense.
Like,
So I think the real question,
can we add my back parking lot to the exemption?
put a spire
There's
on
a
it.
lot of crime back there.
Well, why do you want light shining up? Don't you want light
Well, I just
just
want it more
shining-
like
shining
out.
out and down? Well, yeah. you
Well,
can
so
do
I guess
that.
that's not necessarily
not-
light.
You just don't want it, yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to
Going up.
alert anybody who may be coming onto my property
I think you can still do that.
to back
Yeah.
up off us.
Yeah, I agree. But to have one big globe
light,
that shines
yeah.
up too.
Yeah, I
you know,
understand.
Put a hat on it, you're still getting all around.
I like the hat concept.
Yeah. I think for me, the biggest things we have to discuss are the amortization and is it a foot candle or a half a foot candle? I think it can be a foot candle.
I really
I'm
don't
fine with
care
that.
about that.
So did we just have a consensus that we can do no amortization, 1-foot candle, and,
Leave
Seems like-
everything else the way it is.
yeah?
Well, I guess I'm still gonna come back to my problem with no amortization at all, is that like all kinds of laws that come out, eventually we have to comply with them. So I just don't see the practicality of passing a rule that no one has to ever follow. We're just hoping that the technology saves us.
But that's not true, because it would be if they're doing, I don't remember what the 3 parameters were, but it's.
50% is a lot to do a renovation. That's a lot.
Well, 50% of your property value. I mean, I feel like with the way construction costs are going, and I feel
can
like
get up
most
there pretty
people out here
fast.
could agree with me, it's gonna be easy to get to 50%. But like, I think there's other parameters that will hit, and then also too, the lifeline of a light is only what, 5 to 10 years? So,
I know you're relying on technology to make the decision for you by not, and under
I don't think
that.
I'm relying on it, but I think it's definitely a factor, like.
No,
they're
no,
not
as
gonna be
far,
able-
as far as you want people to comply, correct? So you're saying, but the technology is gonna make you comply because you're not gonna be able to buy that old bad, whatever it was, you're gonna have to buy a new, whenever you buy it, replace it, you're gonna have to buy a new one.
I think because that's the way technology is going, I don't see a need for us to put that extra requirement in there.
And I think too, like, again, we didn't identify that the city of Hendersonville had a problem. We identified that we were getting a lot of new development, and we wanted to prevent us from
We're trying to
having
be preemptive.
a problem. And so I think that's where my sticking point is about it, is just that we wanted to set some standards going forward so that we were not contributing more to light pollution, which I think we can accomplish that if we just do that.
Let me ask Angie a question. So on the meeting on the 8th, when we're voting on this ordinance, if we wanted to, at that time, we could like make a motion to change something and vote on just that something. So in other words, if we wanted to have an amortization or not, we could vote, okay, I make a motion that we not have amortization, and we could vote, and it would be just that part of the ordinance. Are we allowed to do that?
Sure, I mean, you could even do that, that is not adopting the ordinance, that's just what's gonna go in the draft for consideration, for final consideration. So, yeah, you could do that by motion tonight to just, if you wanted to even, so yes, you can do that.
But I'm just saying at the meeting on the 8th, we could also, we can tinker with it, even on the meeting of the 8th.
We do that.
Yeah, I know.
Do that.
Okay,
Wait, I'm confused.
right, so I'm saying that the discussion of amortization, a motion can be made to either do away with it or keep it or whatever it is. I guess currently,
It's
it's in there.
with a question mark.
Correct, yeah. So a motion could be made then to take it out or put it, take it back in or whatever. And it's only affecting that one, you know, I guess it's
as
sort of
long
like the
as you
line
phrase
item
it.
veto idea.
Leave it in or take it out of the draft.
Right,
And we would do that on the 8th and not today.
Right, you can do that on the 8th.
right. That's my question.
Yes.
I think we probably just disagree, and it maybe just come down to a vote, and then we move on with it.
And I think we're in agreement that even though we as a city might be exempt from some things, we will comply anyway.
Well, the only thing we're exempt from is ornamental.
Yeah.
My question,
Street lighting.
yeah, so,
But we would change the streetlights as needed, the ones that don't have the cover over them, things like that.
so a street light is not considered ornamental lighting? Because it's not on a building?
Streetlights are governed by the Code of Ordinances.
That's the other,
That's
right,
the other ordinance. Yep.
yeah, that's the other set of rules.
Yeah, and we have two types of streetlights, your traditional kind of Cobra arm type thing, they're not Cobra heads, which Duke is replacing, and the ornamentals, which are the decorative streetlights. We've got two types of those, renewables.
Yeah, hold on, though, but you used that magic word ornamental.
Yeah,
So, so, I'm not making fun of you, Lou.
no, it's
I'm
fine.
just saying.
It's fine, there's a lot,
So my question
ins
is,
and outs.
from what the mayor just said, and that is, so the ornamental that we've been discussing is on the side of a building,
And as part of the zoning ordinance.
correct? But the ornamental lights on Main Street or Seventh Avenue or wherever we want to put one up, that's under the,
Code of ordinances.
and that's different. And that ornamental exception is not in that,
The code of ordinances
Streetlights.
streetlights.
for streetlights addresses the two separately.
Yeah,
So streetlights are required to meet a no uplight standard, and it exempts ornamental streetlights. That's how it's
okay, so,
written
so
currently.
the word ornamental is in both.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for the answer to that.
So the answer, the ultimate question is, the streetlights that we have the most of, which is the Duke Power streetlights, will have to meet your standard where there's no uplighting associated with them. And then we've exempted the ornamental streetlights with the idea, knowing that it is the council's desire to bring those into compliance as soon as possible or as soon as technology, within reason of keeping the same appearance of Main Street and those kind of things. That's what I've heard. I don't know that anybody's voted on that. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I'd like to see us do that, that we're making the effort. We want to be an example that this is what you can do. And
With regard to the streetlights as well?
at least the ornamental streetlights, because again, keep saying, well, things change. Well, eventually they're going to have to change too, and we should get a better type at that point.
So we're leaving ornamental in or taking it out? That's what I'm trying to follow what you're saying.
Leave it in, but I think we should go above and beyond, just as a policy for the city, that we would
So
make
even though the
every-
ordinance says we're exempt, we're not going to exempt ourselves?
Pretty much.
Basically, yeah. That would just be, we would like to be examples of what, even though we don't have to, we would like to do this.
Okay, and if we took out ornamental out of that, it would accomplish the same thing, would it not? Which means we have to do it.
Well, ornamental could be other places as well.
No, I'm
besides ours.
talking about just the streetlights.
Just the streetlights.
I'm talking about just streetlights. Sorry, I didn't mean to point at you on that, Lou. I'm crediting you with that distinction that you gave us. That's all I'm saying there, Mayor, is if we know that we're going to do it, then why don't we just say we're going to do it? Or not, or that's not a decision that has to be made today.
Yeah,
We have 2 weeks to think about it.
just leave it.
Yeah, and that's something that we could, that's why I asked Angie the question. We could vote on that particular element of this on the 8th.
You could, but if you're going to take it out, I would suggest that you give yourself a date to come into compliance by. To grant yourself some time, because otherwise you're in
Oh, yeah.
violation of the ordinance as soon as you vote. Right? And so.
Unless we don't have amortization.
No, we're talking about I'm sorry, we're talking about.
Different ordinance,
Oh, right, sorry.
Streetlights.
No,
Not
I'm
zoning
back.
ordinance,
I'm
but-
back.
Yeah, streetlights.
ordinance.
So what Angie, I think, is saying is we could create our own amortization for us.
Correct, just for us.
You know, if you chose to, we could say, we will change these lights by some time in the future.
Ornamentals are exempted until, pick a date, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, just to give a reason, because it's so expensive, you want to give yourself a reasonable amount of time to come into compliance.
No, I agree. I'm just kind of chuckling. What? Oh, sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at throwing another amortization time in there. Okay, so that's something that we okay to wait and to figure that one out on the 8th? If it needs to be figured out?
Do we have a consensus to modify the city's lights as we can? I mean, does everybody kind of support that, or?
Well, I mean,
We all kind of
practically,
agree.
yeah, practically, We don't have a choice. We can't go buy them at Lowe's.
At all.
Okay.
I don't think anybody disagrees with you on that.
But I agree that we should be making an effort, and I totally understand what you're saying with regard to the view that we like. So we can't just slap something up there. There'll be a lot of time and thought goes into it, but we should be making the effort to make those dark sky compliant. Because that is total light bleaching up in the sky.
Okay, then.
There is one more we haven't discussed. Do you want to talk about it, Lindsay?
The foot candle?
No?
Stream buffer.
Stream buffer, I don't think we should make any changes to what they've put in there for the stream buffer.
So I don't know how variances work. I know that you had mentioned there, because there's an existing issue in the city with the stream buffer.
Yes.
And so, from what I understand, variances are not easy to get, right? They're not easy to come by.
They shouldn't.
They're not supposed to
shouldn't
be.
be.
And so, is that something that we would want to, in our ordinance, say the existing ones that are there, so that that person or entity did not have to seek a variant that they may or may not be able to obtain, or?
Well, if you took the amortization out, they're there, they don't have to meet the stream buffer requirement anyway. Unless,
Unless they do the other.
unless they spend more than 50%, which there are gonna be other requirements
Besides this.
besides lighting that are gonna affect the stream buffer at 50%. So the lighting is really just one component of many things if you exceed the
I just
50.
didn't want to subject somebody to having to obtain something that we're telling you, well, just go get that, and then they can't get it, and then
Right.
that just doesn't seem fair, I don't think. So,
But it wouldn't be the only thing that would be triggering a stream buffer requirement if they go in and try to, and they redevelop it. There's other ordinances that
I understand.
also would be
Explain
a
that.
hurdle.
Because if you, the reality of the ordinance, and Lou, you correct, I'm wading in here, but the ordinance says now,
Stream buffer,
Stream
right, clever.
if you improve a site by 50%, so the ordinance says now you can't develop in the stream buffer. That's what the ordinance currently says that today. So if somebody goes to redevelop their property and they exceed the 50%, then they have to remove what is in the stream buffer or show a hardship and go to the Board of Adjustment. So the lighting is just one component of it. So she's going to disagree with me.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to add one clarification. So there's two things that can trigger compliance.
Clarification.
Two things, not just 50% of the value. If you replace 50% of your exterior lighting in a 12-month period. So that could catch, I don't know the situation, I don't know the property, but so if somebody only had 2 lights outside and they replace one, they're going to have to bring it into compliance if they do it, right? I mean, technically, that's right. It's what it says. If you
yeah,
replace
but, I mean, who monitors that?
50%.
I mean,
I'm just talking about.
I was
what
out
can
here
trigger.
last week, and I believe he replaced that bulb, and
I'm just,
But it's a great point, but if someone, like I mentioned in the noise ordinance, if someone drives by and looks and says, you know, I'm gonna call the city because they didn't put their dark sky lights in when they changed their lighting, that's exactly how it gets enforced. It's, you know, like the guy next door is over 75 decibels, I'm gonna call the city, I'm gonna call the zoning officer and say, please go check on that, and that's exactly how something like that would be, I don't know if the word is caught, but at least enforced.
but if there's something unique about the property such that that's the only way they could light it all, so that they do have a true hardship, then that's when they would get their variance. Expense is not a basis for a variance.
right.
So if the property's unique, that's the only way they can, then they, more likely, but it's up to the Board of Adjustment, versus somebody that's got 2 acres of property and the development's right in the middle of it and there's no stream buffer or there's nothing around it, then they're less likely to be granted a variance, or should be less likely to be granted a variance.
I have a question, Angie, about the 50% of the lighting. I'm assuming that doesn't mean like changing the bulb.
Fixtures.
Right, that means changing the
Fixtures.
actual fixtures,
Fixtures,
correct.
right.
So if you
Fixtures.
just put a new bulb in, that
No.
doesn't,
How does
right.
it count?
Fixtures. When repairing or replacing 50% or more of total existing exterior lighting fixtures on a site within any 12-month period.
Okay. But changing a bulb is not changing a fixture.
Anything else?
The foot
I
candle.
think we're,
Oh, we all agreed on the foot candle.
Did we agree on the 1 foot candle? Sorry, I missed that.
okay. Anything
I
else?
don't know what I've done, but we've done something.
So the staff, just to make sure I understand, Madam Mayor, and members of council, so staff is not changing anything in the current ordinance. We'll put it back on the agenda for February the 8th.
For the foot candle,
Okay, we will change the 1 foot candle. We'll make that change. Lee, you got that? We'll change the 1 foot candle. We won't change anything else. And then the discussion on the 8th will be among other things, is whether you include amortization or not include amortization, and how you treat ornamental lights for public entities, or public ornamental lights in general.
I would like to add a definition for ornamental, just
Yeah.
as a clarification.
as in you're gonna, somebody's gonna come up with one for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
So there is one in the Code of Ordinances. There's a definition for ornamental streetlight, just for clarification. You may
Okay,
wanna
I
add-
wasn't thinking, I was
No,
thinking
no,
of
that's okay.
design.
I'm thinking you're talking about the ornamental architectural.
I am.
We would add additional. So
I am.
I just wanted to make sure we got that.
Thanks.
So that would be part of the adoption of the ordinance, would be that definition of ornamental, architectural ornamental lighting?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like you can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that that would be something that's not currently in what we're talking about today, that we'll be talking
We'll
about
add,
then.
we'll add that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're set on that now. For further discussion and vote on the 8th. Okay. All right, we are at the end of our agenda.
Time to smile and look
We
pretty.
are adjourned. We've got a few
Madam Mayor,
minutes and
I
then
think we need to
leave.
recess, we need to recess to because you're going to be as a group, all 5 of you.
Oh, okay, sorry about
Recess.
that.
Recess to reconvene at
Recess to reconvene at Jewel Buckman's studio.
and then you can adjourn, absolutely.
Okay, yep, forgot about that. Thank you.